Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second session of the quantum technology training for the policymakers. This is a second cycle already, and most of you have been following us last year. And there are also some newcomers, I believe, that are joining us this cycle for the first time. And I would like to quickly introduce what we're going to come through today. Just a second. Could you please, Diana, confirm that my slides are on the picture, on the screen?
No, we cannot see them yet.
Okay.
Now
Is
we
it going
can see them. Yes, now we can see them.
Okay, thank you very much. Here we go, and welcome again to the quantum technology training for you, dear decision makers. This session is prepared to be showing to all of us how in the last 5 years and also in the future, I hope we are unlocking and will be unlocking innovations, in particular empowered by quantum technologies. And today we really want to focus on the opportunities that we are providing for companies and also research institutions in Europe to embark on this journey. So I will shortly introduce you the speakers of today, and I would like to remind you that in 1 month there will be a second session to which you will get a personal calendar invite and a direct link to connect, and it will be about the use cases dedicated to gravimetry navigation and the mine clearance. We have a big team that is working on preparing this training, and the whole quantum coordination team, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐧𝐠, is supporting us, and we at CNR are coordinating this task, coordinated by the Professor Costanza Toninelli. As always, we're trying to gain knowledge today to get informed decisions and to cooperate with peers from other countries, and as well to talk with experts on various topics. I'd like to remind you, as from the previous session and this session, I'm sure we are even broader covered, there are people connecting to this training that are generally very well informed and would like to keep themselves informed, but there are still some people who are just entering the field, and we hope to provide them with interesting insights today. And the decision makers among you are covering broad range of typology. So there are government decision makers in the research area, in the industry, and many of you are also involved in decision making in several dimensions. Many countries are attracted, participants from many countries are attracted to visit and to follow our training, and this is something that we are really proud of, and we hope that remains. And today, as I already told you, we're going to talk about unlocking the quantum innovations, and in particular involving companies and providing them opportunities to embark. Our first speaker of today will be Johanna Anteroinen, and she's a senior project manager at VTT, which is the Finnish National Research Institute. And in particular, she works in microelectronics and quantum technologies research and in Finland. At VTT, she's managing the co-development project of Finland's first free quantum computer and participates in the 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐧𝐠 quantum coordination and support projects. Before joining the VTT, she has worked in different industries, and most recent ones was ALD and innovation consulting. She held a license degree in micro and nanoelectronic circuits and design, which is from Aalto University. And we are really glad to have Johanna with us today, and happily invite her to share the screen and to come on stage.
Thank you, Oxana, for the introduction and for inviting me to talk today. All right, trying to share my presentation now. Okay, apparently I can't see anything anymore. So can you confirm if you can see the slides?
Yes, slides are perfectly on the screen.
Excellent. All right, thank you. So I will be talking today about a recent interview study made within 𝐔𝐬𝐧𝐥𝐨𝐬𝐧, Coordination and Support Action Project for the Quantum Flagship, under the leadership of Mattia from QUIC. I will first talk a little bit about the goals and objectives of our study, then a little bit about the methodology, so you understand the pros and cons of our methodology, and then mostly I will talk about the findings, and then I will conclude my talk. So our sort of task was rather broad in our project. So we chose to interpret this as we wanted to understand the European quantum technology funding ecosystem, especially to assess if Europe can support quantum technology sector growth, and identify any gaps in the ecosystem, potential risks, and then finally we hope to collect something along the lines of possible solutions to the identified problems. Then a little bit about methodology. So we chose a qualitative approach. We had thought about going for a survey, but we thought that conducting one-to-one interviews would encourage openness and allow direct interaction and the opportunity within the conversation to clarify what people mean, and also so that they will be able to talk about these rather sensitive topics more openly. The caveat here is that it's very difficult to scale because interviews take typically at least from half an hour to perhaps sometimes even an hour, and there is always the chance of individual bias. So the people that we interviewed, we wanted to focus on European quantum tech startup or medium-sized company CEOs, and especially those who we know have undergone funding rounds recently, so that they have recent experiences on gathering funding. And then we wanted to talk to private investors, more specifically venture capitalists who are known to have invested in quantum. So they either focus solely on quantum, or they are more these deep tech funds who have some kind of quantum focus. So from our interviews, 3 themes or topics emerge that cover majority of the topics, let's say. So the first one is perhaps the most important. What is the current status of private funding for quantum tech in Europe, and what kind of challenges the companies face, especially the startups, but also what kind of experiences the VCs have. We heard a lot about public funding programs in Europe, and here it's both national as well. I mean, member states and also the EU public funding. And the rest of the topics the majority of the topics could be also then grouped under regulatory framework, what kind of regulations we have currently, which have some kind of an impact on quantum technology companies, be they positive or negative, and then if there are areas which need improvement. So before I dive into our findings from the interviews, I would just quickly like to address what do we consider as a healthy funding ecosystem for quantum tech. So in essence, you need both private and public investment. Public investor would mean either governments or EU level. This could be direct through funds or grants and or even procurements. Then private investors are a varied group. So you would have anything from angel investors to venture capital funds of different sizes, investment companies, generalist investors, pension funds, and all these. Then if these different funders don't sort of come together in Europe, then you will find problems in the absence of these investors, especially private investors, because if you don't have pre-seed funding, the company doesn't even start necessarily. Then again, further on, if there are not enough private investors available, then the companies might die at a later stage. And finally, this might reflect into companies relocating to different markets for better conditions. So these are the aspects that we were looking at. Then to dive into the first of the three themes, private funding in Europe. So the picture on the right is showing a typical funding life cycle for a quantum tech company, or it could be a deep tech company even. So the later stages of the company growth require a growing amount of funding naturally. And then at some point in time, you will need an exit for the investors, or even IPO, or whatever means it will be. So looking at this picture and then talking to our interviewees, we found that there seems to be no lack of early stage funding. At least these companies that we talked to did receive funding, and neither did the investors specifically mention that early stage funding would be an issue. The problems arise at the later stages. So this is above 50 million euros, or even up to getting to the 100 million euros for single tickets. And here the trouble is also in finding the lead investors willing to make the biggest bets and the valuations and so forth. Our interviewers mentioned that the impacts are more acute on quantum computing sector that is still a more nascent field, and the sector is sort of evolving all the time. So the technology readiness levels for the products will be lower. And here there is a clear mismatch between the venture capitalist life cycles and the sort of product readiness. So venture capitalists typically want to have their outs between 5 to 7 years, sort of statistically. And if the product is somewhere 10 years away, then there is a clear mismatch. Our interviews also said that there are some regulatory and cultural barriers in Europe. And perhaps a larger issue is that there aren't that many big tech companies in Europe who could either be the investor or could be the purchaser of their technology. So we lack a customer base. Then on the public funding side, majority of the comments we received were rather positive on EU or national grants. Where grants are especially helpful are when the companies are still very young and the products are a little bit further away from getting to the market. And their grants can help because you don't have to sell your company to be able to get the grants. It doesn't dilute investment ownership. Challenges are sometimes with the public funding programs themselves. They can be too complicated or they change too fast in order for the companies to be able to keep up. Many mentioned that they have to use consultants to figure out what to do. They can tie you to uncertain proposals or bids and therefore distract you from your core strategy. And then when there is this cost-based funding approach, it can be a bit challenging for early stage startups. Some mentions were also for the public procurement approach in Europe for quantum technology. I think these have been quite a lot in the news lately, and this received, I think, also praise that it's good that there is this sort of governments or national or EU level public bodies act as the customer. However, then the criticism there is that it's not an ecosystem-based approach, or that then public side is choosing a winner, and sometimes the IP rules in these procurements are prohibitive to the companies. Then finally, on the regulatory framework, we touched upon topics of export control, where I think mostly it was viewed as necessary and perhaps sort of something that you have to live with. The challenge there is that if they are too strict, then you are shrinking the customer base and impacting the revenues of the companies. Foreign direct investments have received quite a lot of sort of extra regulation lately, and that was seen as a dangerous path. Intellectual property rights in Europe, they might need some harmonization or clarifications, and then in all regulations, the patchwork implementations are affecting a little bit negatively. Now coming to sort of the conclusion. So what we found was what we call a death by 1,000 cuts. There are bottlenecks, but none of them is sort of one that you can just pick and choose to fix. There are several affecting factors that have an effect on the company's success. The biggest one is probably the lack of European-based large VC funds that are capable of supporting company growth in these Series B and further stages. It's really critical so that we have startups that are approaching the scale-up phase so that they don't die out at that point or always get sold elsewhere. Public funding speed and mechanisms might be one thing to consider. And the sort of impact of the regulatory framework has uncertain impact, so it might need a little bit of tweaking here and there, especially if the controls are too aggressive. Well, way forward, what we collected is, okay, we need more scale-up funds. How to do this is perhaps outside the scope of our study. Faster public funding process. It's already quite streamlined, but needs further streamlining. More efficient regulations, better harmonization at EU level, questions on IP ownership. And then the two final points are this demystification of quantum technology. So we need to be, it needs to become more commonplace. So so the products are sort of more easily accepted, and we can find investors more easily. And then the elephant in the room, which is was mentioned several times in our interviews, which was not a question as such, is Europe seems to have this culture of risk aversion. We simply need to be bolder in the future. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Johanna, for interesting presentation and great insight into what companies do face right now, right at this point of time and in Europe. We will come back to questions to your talk right after we finish all the presentations. And now I'd like to invite Weronika Słomińska and introduce her to our scene. So Weronika, she's a business developer for quantum and semicon at TNO. Here we are in the Netherlands National Research Institute, Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research. And there she explores ways to support the Dutch and European quantum ecosystem, including through European initiatives such as Q-Test and Q-Pilot projects, which she will be largely presenting today as well. And she also has experience in analyzing the private investment landscape in the quantum market and helping connect promising European startups with investors. So we are very happy to have Weronika today with us, and the stage is yours, Weronika.
Hello, thank you for having me, and thank you, Johanna, for your presentation. I think my presentation links with yours a little bit. I will, share my presentation now. I'm sorry, can you wait a second?
Yes. It is with the notes now?
Yes, sorry about that. Just a sec. Okay, I think I got this. Can you confirm that you see my slides, not my notes?
Yes, we see only the slides.
Okay, thank you. So as I said, I think my presentation answers some of the things that Johanna presented, because I'm here to talk about what we already have in Europe and how can young companies benefit from various funding opportunities and other kinds of support. I have now recently started as a business developer at TNO in the team focused on quantum technologies. But before that, I was, as mentioned, involved in the quantum sector from the side of private investments. So that is why today I would like to talk about both public opportunities, but also put emphasis on the importance of the private capital contributions. So I would like to first explain maybe more clearly what TNO is specifically in the context of activities in quantum. Then I would like to talk a bit about how can companies work with us and how we can support them as maybe an encouragement to get in touch with us or as an inspiration. Then I would like to talk about two projects that I had the pleasure of working from these both sides. From TNO and from the company that focus on investment analysis.
Weronika,
yeah,
just 1 second. I have troubles visualizing your slides very good, so I don't know if others have troubles as well. Did you change the slide already? Because I don't see changing slides.
Yes.
Okay. I think we might need to, yes, there are troubles. I see the conference from the chat. I think we might need to try again to disconnect and connect your slides.
Okay.
Okay, now I see the following. Aha, it was starting to go. Let's try again. Okay. I see the slide that has an outline now. Okay, this gone again.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, maybe the connection is a little bit slow, Veronica. I don't know. Maybe you can switch off your camera. So maybe the connection is dedicated only to the slides, to the sharing of the slides. Maybe we can try that.
Now I see the slide with the outline.
Okay, do you see the agenda?
Yes, but the problem is that there is pixeled, there are some gray areas and we see some menu still not going away. So it's indeed like a slow connection problem, it appears. That's unfortunate. Let's try something. Maybe I could share your slides in the meantime.
Is it better now, maybe?
We see your notes and there are these gray areas still. Let me try sharing your slides just to see if that's that can help us. Somebody was seeing good. It's very sad.
Okay, I will use everything.
It's always like that. You test everything, you try everything, it seems to be working, and then when you need it to work, it's making you tricks.
Okay, should I try maybe one last
Try
time?
one more time, yeah.
How is it now?
Well, it's still not perfect, but let's go with what we have. I think you activate still having the weather elements, yes, unfortunately. Okay. Okay, let's. Oh. Now it's all gray. Let's hope this is the worst and then it improves. Now it's all gray.
So you can't see anything.
No. All right.
Now also not.
Just a second.
Oxana, if you share the presentation with me, I can share my screen. So
This is what I'm trying to do desperately. It seems like we have maybe a hacker that is trying to block everything. So I'm trying to do it since it's
in
already.
the chat, I read that some attendees are telling us that there should be a Zoom button to hide everything that's on top of the presentation. But so I don't know if we can find this amazing button. Otherwise, there might be an overlay with other windows open, maybe something like that. All suggestions from the chat. Thank you, everyone, for your support.
Thank you very much for the support. You mean that it could be on the side of presenter of Weronika, that there is?
Yeah, that's what the chat is telling us. Yeah, now it's so gray. This is really weird.
It's really strange.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunate.
Weronika, if you could stop sharing for the moment, maybe I can try again to share. Well, I think at the moment we remain with the option of Weronika just speaking in front of us, opening her camera and giving us the presentation. It's very unfortunate that there are no slides, but I think
The last suggestion we are having from the chat is that the button to hide all extra elements is on the 3 dots for the presenter. So if Weronika, you can find 3 dots.
Do you see my screen now?
I still see these gray elements blocking the view. Maybe hide floating. This hide floating on, yeah, under show.
I see the dots and I clicked on them.
Yes, I see on your window this hide floating something, but it's blocked by the gray thing for me. And I don't know what's these floating things, but it might be yeah, not real solution, but maybe we can still use a little bit of the slides, even though we have these gray elements we can go on. And so maybe you can just share your presentation like this. At the moment, we see the presenter view, so with your notes.
Great, okay.
Yes, always technical problems, but
okay, let's
go on like this. It's better than nothing. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry for the problem. All right, so let me tell you about what TNO is now a bit shorter than I wanted, but let me tell you what we're doing in Quantum shortly, how we're working with companies, and then I will talk more about 𝐤𝐻𝐃 and 𝐤�pilot, so one of the projects that we are partners of. We have a coordinating role, also VTT is there, and then I will talk a bit about other funding opportunities. So very shortly about TNO, it's a research and technology organization, not-for-profit from the Netherlands. And we support companies in innovating and doing research and development with the mission of creating a benefit for the society. So I'm not sure how much you see, but I have a slide with how we are putting ourselves in the context of the technology readiness levels. The point is that we are entering and helping research to bring that low TRL into products that can be deployed commercially. And we do it in different ways through contract research, so working with a company or for the company, through public-private partnerships, so with the support of the government, and EU projects, of course, which 𝐤𝐻𝐃 and 𝐤𝑃ilot are a part of, and that we're proud of. This I will skip then. This is extra opportunities that TNO is offering itself. But okay, about 𝐤𝐻 and 𝐤𝑃ilot. These are sister projects under Horizon Europe. They are similar in their goals, but they are slightly different in what exactly they're doing. So 𝐤𝐻 is there to create a network of quantum technology testing and experimentation service providers across Europe, and 𝐤𝑃ilot is about leveraging existing piloting infrastructure across Europe. They were both started in April 2023. Both are part of Quantum Flagship, and you can see that both of them are consist of partners that are RTOs, companies, and also non-RTOs that also provide services there. The coordinator of 𝐤𝐻 is CNO, of 𝐤𝑃ilot VTT, and basically in very simple terms, because I think because I'm quite new in the field, and I just I joined CNR recently. Maybe I have the benefit of being able to explain it in simpler terms, because first I had to understand it in simpler terms. So basically, the projects are about giving companies from Europe the opportunity to use the infrastructure that is already existing in Europe, so they don't have to invest in it themselves. And that's why the RTOs are parts of the consortium. And companies can do it in two ways, and which the first one is the implementation of internal use cases. So the companies that are in the project from the beginning are matching with the RTOs to see how they can work together and what facilities or expertise these RTOs can offer for specific needs of the company. Another opportunity that is maybe interesting for companies that were not there from the beginning are the open calls for additional use cases, which I will talk more about later. So here you can see what partners are in the projects. You can see that there are both service providers, they're both RTOs, so they provide the technical, the expertise service, but also there are companies that provide business services. And of course, the companies that are there to kind of operate and take advantage of that. So here I had a video that probably is not going to work if you don't see my screen very well. But how we do that, how we match the services that are already existing in Europe within the RTOs with the needs of the companies. We have a special platform where that is available on the website of 𝐤𝐸𝐻 and 𝐤Pilot, where you can go through the platform, check what you need, what your company is about, what facilities, what service, what expertise you could use, and it matches with the services that are offered by RTOs that also are part of the project.
Welcome to 𝐤𝐸𝐻 and 𝐤Pilot.
So of course, internal use cases are, we are already working on it. For 𝐤𝐸𝐻, we already have activities going on with Dutch startup Quantware and the French one Silent Waves. And this one is about testing traveling wave parametric amplifiers. So these two startups had that need, and it turned out that three of the service providers from 𝐤𝐸𝐻 were able to help them, to work with them, including TNO, PTB, and INRIM from Italy. So this is already taking place. And another example, this time from 𝐤Pilot, is of a German startup, 𝑑𝐞𝐬, that is for NV spin characterization through optimized microwave structures. And this is also, 𝐷𝐞𝐬 is being helped, the facilities, the expertise is shared by TNO, IMEC from Belgium, and Fraunhofer from Germany. So these are the internal use cases that are already happening. But we also have an opportunity for the companies from the outside, so open calls. And this is an opportunity for companies from the outside to also gain this technical knowledge, market insights, guidance through joining the project kind of in the middle. We already had the calls published, the first kind of phase in the summer. It closed in September, so now we're evaluating the applications. The next one is in March, so maybe that would be an opportunity. And this is basically the same as the internal use cases, also matching through the same platform, working with the same RTOs, but this one, you have to compete with others. Here I had graphs from the intake forms from the applications that we got from the companies for the open call, and you can see that they're from various countries. In Europe, the applicants are usually SMEs, but also to larger companies for Q-tests, for example, needing help with different kinds of technologies, mostly with quantum computing in Q-tests, but also quantum communication, quantum sensing. In Q-Pilot, similarly, a lot of different countries from Europe, mostly SMEs, but 3 larger companies applied. And here it's mostly for the technologies that enable quantum technologies or the practical applications of them. If you want to read more about the open calls, here I have the QR code that I'm not sure if it works, but you can also just simply Google it and find it on our website and prepare maybe for the next cutoff of the open call that is in March 2025. And another thing that I would like to mention that I think is cool about Q-Test and Q-Pilot is something that connects a bit to what Johanna was talking about, because of course we know that if you're in this training, if you know Quantum Flagship, you know that Europe is very good at this collaboration, at public funding, different opportunities, creating the ecosystem. But compared to, well, for example, the US, we're not big on big investments. We're exactly more risk averse, and the private investments are not big in quantum in Europe. And this is why Q-Test and Q-Pilot is also working on the business development part of it, which is mostly managed by Amires, so a consulting company that I worked for before. And this is being done, the investment management is done through 3 ways. So first of all, we gather market intelligence, what is happening with the investments, who invests where, the trends, and we published a few months ago a report on it that presents what was happening in the investment market in Europe in 2023. So this is useful for the investors maybe in Europe that are not sure whether they should focus on quantum technologies or what exactly it's about, what exactly technologies are the most popular, or where to go, basically. Then we take care of investor relations. So we are in touch with a couple of European investors, whether they focus on quantum, like Quantumation, or more general on deep tech, to keep them updated, to also hear about their needs, their wants, hear their questions. And then in the end, we would like to bring the investors and companies together, for example, through activities like events, like investment sessions. The next one is already happening as we speak in InfoVentures event in Bordeaux. And the next one is in November during the EQTC conference in Lisbon, where there is an investment session where investors can meet with the companies, have a little pitching session. It's more private, personalized event for trusted people that we are in touch with. And there are, of course, other ways of getting public findings. So you know about Horizon Europe. Q-Test and Q-Pilot is also within that. The work program for 2025 is upcoming. So the calls and tenders website is publishing them. But I saw also that on Quantum Flagship website, there's a great overview of the open calls. The EIC Accelerator is there, of course. It's a combination of grants and equity investment. So it's a bit public, but more in the, also using a little bit of the business, the private investments. And just last month, companies were selected for funding through that, and 5 of them were quantum companies. So it's also getting, so they also focus on quantum in that, as we can see, this is becoming more relevant. There's also the 𝐎𝐸𝐺 initiative that focuses on making pilot lines for semiconductors happen, and just last month two calls opened that focus on quantum technologies, and they are open till January, so still still for some time. And more from the Netherlands perspective, what we often do in TNO when we can't get into EU project on a specific challenge or idea, or when we can't really work with a quantum company through the contract project, we sometimes use an initiative from the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs, which is called the TKI project for the knowledge and innovation, from the top knowledge and innovation projects, where when we support a company in something in research, then the company 50% of the costs are covered are coming from the government. So that is also what we leverage a lot when we work with clients. And that's all from me. I'm sorry for the difficulties, and I hope you still got to got some takeouts from my presentations. If you would like to know more about TNO or 𝐤𝐻𝐬𝐴 pilot, or about 𝐴myris activities, we will all be in November at this EQTC event in Lisbon. So there you can ask more questions, and of course maybe attend the 𝐴myris investment session. That is a side event. So if you have any questions, please, I would love to answer, and you can always reach me my email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Weronika. This was a great talk, extremely insightful, and I particularly learned a lot. I'd like to invite back Johanna on stage, and no, stay, please, stay, Weronika, stay with us. Special thanks to Weronika for making it even such that we still have time for questions. This is amazing. I think that this is a good opportunity to say, like, you never know what's gonna come, even if you are prepared. So, and thank us a lot to Johanna, who have already answered a lot of questions in the chat, question and answer. Please follow her answers that are also really insightful. I'd like to ask one question straight away to Weronika, since it is fresh now, and there is some clarification requested by Mathilde Chenou. And could you explain, please, the difference more explicitly between the Q-test and the Q-pilot and the European HPC joint undertaking?
So I'm not sure if I am knowledgeable enough to tell. I would not like to mix anything, because I'm involved. I always was involved in Q-test and Q-pilot and HPC. I heard a little bit about it, but I think not enough to compare. I think Q-test and Q-pilot are more defined projects that go on for many years, and you already kind of know what's going to happen, because the partners were there in the beginning and deciding on the activities that they will work on together. But I should maybe ask someone more knowledgeable about it to give you a proper comment, because I don't know much about the HPC project. So
thanks a lot. I mean, this is wonderful. I will connect you to the person who made the question so that you could follow up. And then maybe there is also some wonder whether there is a correct understanding that Q-test and Q-pilot provides funds for the service providers, such that they can offer their service for companies for free.
So for RTOs, it's a bit different than for other bodies joining the Horizon program, because we do have to contribute also financially in order to be part of the program. It's usually 50-50. So we do have to come in also with financial contribution. But yes, we do get funds from Horizon to be able to help that other companies with our services. So yes.
Thank you so much. There is few questions about Q-pilots, but I would like for the moment switch back to the study that Johanna presented. There was a question that she answered already regarding the venture capital fundings, which are large scale, above 50 million. And the question was this problematic of the absence. Is it because there are simply enough venture capital companies that can provide the service, or it's because they are not ready to provide it for these specific needs that we are opening in quantum? So Johanna, if you could maybe elaborate a little bit more your question, and then I would like to ask Weronika what is her stand on that.
Okay. Yeah. So my understanding is that there simply aren't that many European large size VC funds available. Having said that, there is, of course, the sort of issue that quantum technology is still quite a nascent field, especially if you look at quantum computing side. Of course, sensors have been around for quite a while. So there is this difficulty in discussing with more generalist investors to whom deep tech might not be the sort of first choice. So it's also about making the technology more mature and more understandable to a wider audience so that you can reach the deeper pockets also in Europe, right? Mm-hmm. So there is also a certain level of risk aversion always. And this was sort of brought up by several interviewees independently without it being a question specifically. So I think it's a combination of many things.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Weronika, would you have something to add to this question?
I completely agree with that. It is a combination. And I think a big one is that there is still a little understanding of quantum technologies, which is fair because there are still not many practical applications of it. So people don't really know what we can have. It's very low in maturity. So that's why I think, for example, 𝐤𝐸𝐻 pilots, it's nice that we can show what we actually are working on and what can be done, because it is a big issue that there's not enough use cases, not enough practical applications that investors can say, oh, okay, so this is what we can have. This is really happening. It's very abstract for many people. So this is also an issue.
Okay, so that we could say that the 𝐸-pilot and 𝐸-test are the path to open the readiness of the bigger venture capital investors also to come and provide for these developments. Is that correct summary of what you said?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's also great exposure. It's also a great way for others to hear about these companies through collaboration with others. So yeah, I agree.
Thank you so much. This is really nice. So we have now one more specific question for 𝐸-tests and 𝐸-pilots. So before these two projects, the companies would have identified the service provider themselves, negotiate the terms for a consortium, and then apply for funding together. Now, the barrier is much lower for the companies. Is that the correct perspective, the Aaron asks?
If the barrier is much lower, I'm not sure if I understand. So it is
I mean, we ask Aaron to open the mic and speak up, because in this way we could we have also two questions. This is really nice. So I have challenges to find Aaron. Let me, in meantime, I look for Aaron. Welcome, Johan Vega, to ask the question. As the right, he had the, or she had the hands up. Please, Johan, you are welcome to unmute yourself and speak. Okay, we are not getting reaction. There is also Georgios Pantos who wanted to ask a question. Then I welcome him to speak. Okay. And then I'm also asking to speak to Aaron now, Streitfeld and
Hello, test. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Aaron. Welcome.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I'm clarifying on the question regarding the barrier. So for me, this was a question to clarify if my understanding is correct. In my mind, I imagine a quantum sensing or quantum company in general, and they would like to identify a use case and do some tests for that. And before they would then see, okay, what are the use cases? They talk to potential early adopters, and then I need to find the facilities to do a targeted development. And my understanding is also for our opportunities that we have right now at the European Space Agency, they would need to find this consortium, they would need to develop this consortium and then reply to a very specific call. Do I get it right that with 𝐴𝐸-TEST and 𝐴𝐸-Pilot, you're now saying we have already the consortium pre-assembled for you? You can just tap in and get funding for the work.
More like we have the consortium already. We have the facilities, we have the RTOs, we have identified the services they can offer, and we have the companies that were there from the beginning. But now you can jump in with your idea if it fits more or less the services that we offer. And then you don't necessarily get money for, you don't get funding, but you get the facilities of the expertise that we already have in the project. So if it matches, it's nice. But we also can, of course, we also discuss with the applicants the exact way of cooperation. It's not set in stone. So,
okay, and the services that would be then granted are consulting, but you say also facilities. Would it be the execution of work in the facilities, or would it be just the facilities itself?
Yeah, so it is sharing about facilities and tools, but it is also sharing expertise. So, for example, I see it every day at TNO that our scientists, our experts work together with the company. So so when they come to use, for example, our labs, we also work together on the technologies. So it's both. But we also offer different services, as I mentioned, business services. So it's really a variety.
Okay, but typically the people from the company would also work in these facilities. This would not be completely subcontracted in a way. So they're not hands-off.
No.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, they would come and use our facilities.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I very much like the two projects.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron, and I'm really glad. I think it's the most interactive session so far we had, and this makes me believe even more that the vulnerability creates connection. So we had a lot of challenges today. We went through them quite smoothly. I very much thank you, Weronika and Johanna, for being with us and for sharing your great work, and looking forward to be in touch with you in the near future, and specifically at the EQTC at Lisbon, November 18 to 21. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.